Most people think the Second Amendment is about guns. It's not. It's not. The Second Amendment is second for a reason. It's right after the First. The Second Amendment is actually about the freedoms in the First Amendment. The Second Amendment is about the freedoms in the First Amendment. The freedoms that we have of association, of religion, of speech. These freedoms are what the Second Amendment is about. Freedom of choice is the biggest one. To choose who we are with, to choose who we marry, to choose how to defend ourselves, to choose our beliefs, to choose what to say. This is critical. So the Second Amendment is actually about choice. In fact, I choose, personally, to defend myself with my words and my wit, not a firearm. I choose that. Some people choose to defend themselves with a firearm. Some choose both. All are the right answer. But not just that, you may change your mind. You may choose you want one or the other. You may choose both. You may choose neither. All are the right answer. The Second Amendment is about choice more than it is about firearms. Now you might say to yourself, well, wait a minute, Larry. Isn't the Second Amendment more about us defending ourselves against the government? Not necessarily. The Second Amendment is about us defending our life, our liberty, and our choice of how we choose to pursue happiness. Our pursuit of happiness, whatever that might be. Could that be from government? Sure. Could it be from someone else? Sure. Depends on how I'm living my life. That's what matters. Again, the Second Amendment is about choice. That's why it's right after the First. Now, when a lot of people will tell me, and I hear it all the time, but Larry, that was written 200 some odd years ago. That's no longer valid. That's no longer important. Who needs that? That's crazy. Who needs that? Here's the funny thing. I said, great, if you think that, who's going to defend you? And the answer's the same. The government. The government's job is to keep me safe. The government's job is to keep me safe. I hear that all the time. But let me tell you the problem. What's supposed to happen, and this is a fantasy world that we actually should be moving towards. A real fantasy world we should be moving towards doesn't exist now. What's supposed to happen with the government? Look, I'm a Marine. Not former, by the way, not ex-Marine. Anyway, I'm a Marine. 7 years I spent in the Marine Corps, and I took an oath. The same oath many of you took, the same oath the President took. And that was to defend and support the Constitution. Not to defend and support every single individual. That wasn't the oath I took or any executive took. What's supposed to happen is every executive, mayor, governor, president, doesn't matter, their job is to defend the Constitution. The Constitution defends our rights, and we defend ourselves. But that is, sadly, that's a fantasy world too. Because that's not what's happening now, and we have to change that. And one of the best examples of that is the SAFE Act. It's one of the best examples of it. It's one of the reasons why I came here. I wanted to make sure that you understood exactly how I feel on the SAFE Act. And the problem is you might say, but Larry, lots of people hate the SAFE Act. That's not true. Because the SAFE Act sounds great. The word safe is in it. Clearly it's good. It's all about making us safe. It literally says safe in it. And you might laugh.
Like the dreamers.
Like the dreamers. Yes. You might laugh at that. But that marketing clearly worked, didn't it? That marketing worked. You can laugh at it here, but that marketing worked, and it still works. Who's trying to repeal the SAFE Act? Nobody.
Narratives matter.
Say it again?
Narratives matter.
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm telling you, when I talk about the SAFE Act, I don't say necessarily it's unconstitutional, even though it clearly is. Enough people don't care about that. What I talk about with the SAFE Act is, it doesn't make us safe. That's what I say. It doesn't make us safe. You know what it actually does? It makes a lot of law-abiding citizens criminals overnight. That's not safe. How is that safe? All of a sudden, what I did legally last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, all of a sudden now I'm a criminal.
I'll gladly be a criminal.
Please don't be a criminal. I don't want you to be a criminal. I don't want a government that makes you a criminal. Here's the most important piece, and I'm glad you said that, my dear. Thank you for saying that. Here's the problem we have, and this goes back to the idea of the government keeping us safe. What's the purpose of the executive branch of the government? What's the purpose of the president, the police force, the military? And we always say to enforce the laws. And what I'm going to say is no. It is to protect the rights of the individual. That's what it's about. Because as wonderful as democracy is, and it is wonderful, as wonderful as our republic is, and it is wonderful, if we don't care about the individual, the masses will vote our rights away. How do we know that? It's happening now. And the SAFE Act is a perfect example of that. It's an example of the masses voting our rights away. Government's job has to be to protect the individual from the masses. And we don't see that. Say it again? I like that, the Unsafe Act. I'm going to. So the Unsafe Act is a great example of this. Again, it's why I came here. When I heard that, I knew this was the right time. This was the right place to talk about that. It does not make us safe. It makes more of us criminals, number one. But there's more. There's more than that. Not only does it make us criminals, on top of that, it makes less people want to help law enforcement. And we don't think about that. Because there are bad people who do bad things with guns. That does happen, right? Of course it does. We know this to be true. But if you have an Unsafe Act, thank you, my friend, if we're under the Unsafe Act, do I want to help out by registering, by helping cops, by showing them, by doing my part with the cops? I don't. I'm afraid they're going to see what I have. They're going to check me out, take my stuff. All of a sudden that happens. But there's even more. Now you have people who travel through our state. You've all heard these stories. They travel through our state. And when they travel through our state, they have a firearm in a bag. And next to that firearm, in the same bag, they have ammunition. Note what I said. Next to that firearm, they have ammunition. Not in the firearm. Next to the firearm, they have ammunition. Well, SAFE Act, guess what? That's loaded. You're going to jail. I'm not joking. That's loaded. You're going to jail. And what happens if you have kids with you? Well, CPS is coming. That is correct. CPS is coming. Yes, it is. CPS is coming. And that's if you're not even a New York resident. The SAFE Act is unsafe. The SAFE Act is wrong. The SAFE Act is immoral. And all those things you can think, it is a bad idea. It doesn't make us safer at all. But the next step is, people say things like, well, Larry, if we have the SAFE Act, what's happening is we're making sure that bad people don't get guns. Right? Bad people don't get guns. Okay, in theory, that sounds great. Again, like safe sounds great. But is all of a sudden bad guys don't get guns anymore? Is that what actually happens? Let me tell you, I'm going to list right now all the times gun prohibition has worked perfectly well and helped out the citizenry. And done. Just list them all. And done. It would be never. But we keep doing it, and we keep doing it, and we keep doing it. All that happens when you restrict firearms from your citizenry, you are ensuring there will eventually be violence. That's what you're ensuring. There will eventually be violence. Say again?
You're creating a black market.
Yes, you are. But not just that. You are making people feel unsafe. In my magical world, remember my first magical world I talked about? The world where no one needs a gun. Remember that magical world? Why do I bring that up? Because in my heart, I would love to get us as close to that magical world as I possibly could. I want people to feel like the government is never coming for your guns. What makes people buy more and more and more guns? Fear, when people think you're taking your guns. Yes, absolutely. So I would like people to not feel like they need them. That'd be awesome. That'd be a great world. Never going to happen, but can I move closer to that? Of course we can. You want people to not be violent, you want people to not be angry. I get it. No worries. I get that. I want that too. It doesn't come from restricting guns. It comes from providing prosperity. It comes with providing opportunity. It comes with making people feel happy and safe and pursue their happiness the way they want to pursue it. When that begins to happen, people feel safer. They don't need guns. You buy them because you want them, and I'm okay with that. Enjoy. It's your right. Enjoy them. Please go ahead. but I don't want you having them and being afraid. I don't want anyone being afraid. And the Unsafe Act is a feeble attempt at making people feel safe. And what it actually is a terrible attempt to seize more guns, to make people criminals, to make people feel alienated, and also to make people who don't understand guns at all think that they're safer. It doesn't work. It's wrong. It is immoral, and it should be repealed immediately. All right, how can we repeal a SAFE Act? That's not easy. It's not easy thing to do. It is not. Because, of course, it was actually put into place right after Sandy Hook, right? Right after children were killed. Difficult to deal with that emotion, I know. But I will never, and if you guys who know me, some of you follow me, you guys know, I will never walk away from a Second Amendment conversation, no matter what. I will have that conversation after Sandy Hook. I will have that conversation after Las Vegas. I will have that conversation always. Too many people, well, particularly Republicans, will say, well, now's not the time to talk about guns. I'm a libertarian. It is always the right time to talk about guns, even after tragedy. Always. Always. Now, people will say, but wait a minute, Larry. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you don't want common sense, I'm not sure what that means, but common sense gun laws? You don't want that. And I say, well, here's what I want. If there is a bill in front of me as governor that restricts gun ownership, the odds are very high I'm not even going to read it. The odds are very high I'm just going to veto it. That's the odds. However, if there is a bill in front of me that is really about safety, that does not restrict gun ownership, I would consider it. That, to me, is common sense. That's it. I will read that bill. Devil's always in details, obviously. But that bill I will read. If it restricts it, no. But wait a minute, Larry, don't you want less people to die the next time there's a shooting, the next time there's an attack or something like that? And here's my issue. Of course I do. Of course I want less people. Of course I do. Absolutely. The issue is that is not my priority. My priority isn't less people dying when there's a shooting. My priority is making this state a better place to live so there are less shootings. The idea that I would say I want to limit gun ownership so that in the case there happens to be a mass shooting that there are less killings makes me say I'm okay with killings. I'm not. I don't want to make it a little less. I want to make them go away. Does that make sense? I want them to go away. But Larry, if we have less guns and common sense gun laws, then the terrorists won't get their guns. That's what will happen. See that? Don't you want terrorists to not have guns? I hear this. I'm not making this up. You have too, I'm sure. You've heard this before. Absolutely. Let's see. How many guns did they use in 9/11? Oh, that'd be none. None. How about the last time they ran people down in Manhattan? None. Right? How about out there in Oklahoma? None. Well, wait a minute. I don't know.
Boston Marathon.
Say again?
Boston Marathon.
Boston Marathon. How many guns were used in that one? None. None.
The government's got more better explosives than the private sector does.
I'm not sure how that...
They can stage all these events to make us think like we need legislation.
All right, I'm not going to go down the staging events piece. I'm not going down that one. Thank you. That's another one. Let's go. I'm going down that one. I'm going to stay on the Boston bomber, and I'm going to stay on the Oklahoma City bomber, and I'm going to stay on 9/11. Right? With all of those, how many guns were used? None. So while I get how it feels, and I'm giving you something for you to think of, because you are the people who are going to be talking more than me. You're talking to your friends, you're talking to your family, you're talking to the press also. And when they say things like I just said, please, one thing, don't get angry. That's all I'm asking you to do. Don't get angry. Understand where it's coming from. They are afraid, and it sounds good. Understand that. They are afraid, and it sounds good. You have to show them they shouldn't be afraid, and it isn't good. It's just, what do you call it, the narrative? Is that what you said?
Narratives matter.
It's just a very good narrative is what it is. It's a good narrative, but it's a story. It's just a story. The reality is not true. I'm asking you to think that way and to talk that way. I'm going to think that way. I'm going to talk that way. And if you want someone who will actually go out of their way to use the governorship as a bully pulpit to talk about this issue the way I'm talking about now, to come to VFWs the way I'm coming now, to talk to the press the way I did last night and the day before, to do that, to make people understand this, and to put pressure on our legislature so they will actually repeal this by 2019, 2020, you've got to vote for me in 2018. You have got to vote for me November of 2018. Now, I know you're going to say this, but Larry, you're a libertarian. You got no shot. It's a wasted vote. Come on. I get that completely. Let me be very clear about something. In New York State, in 2018, in a statewide election, this state is too blue for a Republican to win. Period. That may make you angry. You may not like that. That's reality. In 2018, in this state is too blue. The Republican is. That's why they can't find one to run. That's why they can't find one to run. They're going to find some sacrificial lamb to throw up there, and they're going to lose. And they know it. That's why they won't go. 2018, statewide. Locally, Republicans will win. Absolutely. Statewide, this year, they will not. There is no chance. A vote for Republican in 2018 in this state, in a statewide election, is a wasted vote. But a vote for Libertarian is not. I will still support the Second Amendment, in fact, stronger than them, because Republicans have been in the legislature and SAFE Act still went through. I'm governor, it does not. I'm governor, it gets repealed. And the follow-up bill they'll come up with to try to make it unsafe, and that gets vetoed also. I'm governor, it doesn't happen. You want to support me? Please do so. LarrySharpe.com, Sharp with an E. E makes it special. No, I will not. I will take every single bill on its own. Here is my rule on bills in general. And I followed a Gary Johnson model. Those of you may know Gary Johnson from New Mexico. He vetoed more bills than any governor during his time as governor. In fact, he vetoed more bills than all other 49 governors combined. I follow his model. If that bill increases taxation, if that bill decreases freedom, it gets vetoed. Period. I don't really care. It doesn't matter what they say. It gets vetoed. That legislature must override my veto. Make them do it. I want to make sure they do it. It's getting vetoed. So that's period. I'm not going to make a deal like that. I will not. I will not. What we will do.
How is it going to get repealed from the assembly when they're not going to?
That's right now they're not going to. It's correct. And it will take me doing this hundreds of times until eventually the people say, you know what, he's right. It's not safe. Most New Yorkers still think it says safe in it, so it's good enough. I know that drives you guys crazy. It drives me crazy, but it's a fact. The fact that we are right, sadly, doesn't matter because, I'm going to keep using your word, brother, thank you so much, the narrative is simply too good right now. We have to change the narrative. My job is to change the narrative so they can do it. Here's the problem. If they repeal the SAFE Act, here's their worry. They repeal the SAFE Act, now there's a shooting. What's going to happen with the press? They're going to... Yes, that's true. But they're going to blame every single person who voted to repeal. They're going to blame every one of them. Here's the problem. Will Cuomo give them, or will any Republican governor give them the actual air cover they need to do it? They will not. I will. I'm the one here saying openly, it is unsafe, it is wrong, it should go. So when I push it and the press blames me for the shooting, I'll take that. I will give them the air cover they need to repeal it. Right now, there are some who want to repeal it. They see how bad it is. They actually do. Fear stops them. What I'm saying here is not that they don't know it. They get it. Many of these people are very intelligent. Some aren't. But many are actually very intelligent. And they know what I'm telling you, and they know it to be true. But their careers are over because they have no air cover if they repeal it and something goes wrong. They need a governor who will give them air cover. That governor is me. So I will not make a deal like that at all. I will simply give them the air cover that's appropriate and make them do it the right way. I don't want to bribe them into doing the right thing. I want them to understand it is the right thing. I'm not about just changing one thing. That's a branch. We have to break the root. If I bribe them to this one, they give me another one. If I get them to know it's wrong, they stop. I don't want a short-term solution. I want a long-term solution. I want to change New York State Really change. Not give you something on the top that looks good, and you go, yay, Larry Sharp gave me one thing. No, I want real change. Because when I'm gone, I learned this as a Marine. The best leaders are those who create other leaders. You guys who are military, a lot of you all, you know. Take that hill. But the captain shot. Great. Take that hill. So when I'm gone for 8 years, I don't want it to go right back to the old ways. I've got to create a culture change in the state so it never comes back. So to answer your question, no, I will not make that deal. I will change the culture of the state so that it never happens again. You won't need that deal anymore. Did I answer your question? Great, good. Any other questions or comments? Guys, thank you so much.